As a global market strategist, I'm always looking for those hidden economic engines, the ones operating just under the radar before they completely explode. And today, in this explainer, we are unpacking an absolutely massive, highly predictable economic shift that's happening right now, specifically as we look toward 2026. We're diving deep into an exclusive market strategy analysis from Upside Journal. If you don't know them, they're the primary intelligence source for builders and investors navigating emerging markets. And we're going to explore how African diaspora networks are fundamentally transforming traditional, everyday family level remittances into this incredibly powerful engine for venture capital and startup acceleration, specifically in the artificial intelligence sector. So if you're looking to understand how human capital, deep cultural ties, and frontier tech are all converging to unlock a multi-billion-dollar opportunity, you are in exactly the right place. Let's get into it. So here is our roadmap for today. First, we'll cover the African AI diaspora. Second, the shift from remittances to VC. Third, the economics of trust. Fourth, returnees and talent networks. Fifth, AI hotspots and startups. And finally, we'll map out the 2026 flywheel.
All right, Section 1, the African AI diaspora. Let's talk about the sheer scale and potential here.
I really want you to consider the sheer volume of baseline capital we're dealing with. In recent years, sub-Saharan Africa received over $56 billion annually in traditional remittances. Now, historically, these funds have basically been the ultimate social safety net, right? It's money sent home to pay for food, housing, healthcare, keeping the lights on, education. Because of that, it's incredibly stable, consistent capital. But traditionally, the global financial system has categorized it strictly as subsistence finance. It operates almost like microfinance, rather than being treated as productive, wealth-generating investment. Now, to understand the true potential here, we have to contrast that $56 billion financial figure with the human scale. Globally, there is an African diaspora population of over 34 million people. We're talking major concentrations in the US, the UK, Canada, France, and increasingly in places like the UAE and Germany. And within this 34 million, there is a highly disproportionate concentration of absolutely top-tier tech and engineering talent. I mean, we're talking about thousands of African-trained AI researchers, machine learning specialists, and software engineers working at the absolute highest levels of global tech. We're talking Google, Meta, Microsoft, leading research universities. This group is often called the continent's sixth region, and they possess world-class technical discipline.
So, why does all of this matter right now? Well, $16.5 billion. That figure represents the projected size of Africa's AI market by the year 2030. It's a market that is growing at 27% annually. But there's a massive, glaring funding gap. Global venture capital has been, understandably, heavily concentrated on the US AI boom, which has left emerging markets pretty starved for early-stage capital. But this is exactly where the diaspora is stepping in. They are uniquely positioned to bridge this exact gap. They serve as the literal connective tissue between that $56 billion in remittance flow and the $16.5 billion AI market opportunity.
Moving on to Section 2, from remittances to VC, upgrading capital. It's truly fascinating to see the evolution happening right now. Traditional individual remittances, which often rely on informal trust networks like Hawala or your standard formal money transfer agents, are actively upgrading into sophisticated diaspora investment mechanisms. We're now seeing diaspora mutual funds, fully fledged equity platforms, and pooled remittances being used as actual collateral. Take platforms like Ovamba, for example. They process millions in deal flow by allowing diaspora investors to directly fund equipment leasing for African small and medium enterprises. The capital is just getting so much smarter. It's moving away from simply maintaining the baseline of the home economy to actively building its future infrastructure.
Section 3, the economics of trust. Why the diaspora wins.
To fully explain this advantage, we really need to look at transaction cost economics, or TCE. Now, I know that sounds a little academic, but simply put, this is a framework that explains the hidden costs of doing business. It's the cost of finding a good startup to invest in, the cost of verifying that the founders are actually who they say they are, and crucially, the cost of enforcing the contract if things go wrong. In developing markets, these transaction costs can be sky high, and that inherently dictates who can safely invest and who can't. Think about conventional foreign investors, your big investment banks or traditional Western VC funds. They completely rely on strong, formal legal institutions. When those institutions are unpredictable or just plain weak, conventional investors fear counterparty opportunism. Basically, they worry they're going to get scammed and have zero legal recourse. So what do? They just stay away. Diaspora investors, however, they completely bypass this barrier. According to research from the International Migration Institute, diaspora investors substitute formal institutional protections with informal social networks, deep family ties, and a nuanced cultural understanding. A concentrated diaspora network dramatically lowers the cost of discovering good opportunities, and it almost entirely de-risks the investment through social accountability. They literally have a structural advantage in deploying capital safely where others just can't. Section 4. Returnees and Talent Networks. Brain circulation. You've probably heard the term brain drain before, right? Well, forget it. The new era is all about brain circulation. Organizations and events are actively institutionalizing this circulation. Take the deep learning Indaba. They recently hosted their massive annual event in Senegal under the theme Xam Shamlay, which beautifully translates to gathering and sharing knowledge. They brought together top-tier talent from 47 different countries, facilitating these intense hackathons with industry leaders to solve hyperlocal issues like anti-venom sequencing. You've also got the African Diaspora Investment Symposium over in Silicon Valley and the African Olympiad Academy. All these networks actively facilitate the returnee or boomerang phenomenon. Diaspora professionals bring global standards, high-level investor relationships, and strict product discipline right back to hubs like Nairobi and Lagos. And this creates these highly resilient hybrid teams. You get core operational execution happening locally on the ground in Africa, while the overarching strategy and capital access are managed from diaspora hubs in the US or Europe. It's a brilliant model. The ultimate goal of these networks is captured perfectly by this insight from Nextel Intelligence. Because these returnee founders understand both the absolute cutting edge of global AI benchmarks and the stark, on-the-ground realities of African infrastructure, they aren't even trying to build legacy systems. They are applying AI to leapfrog those old systems entirely. We're already seeing this. Look at AI credit scoring models from companies like M-Kopa. They are bringing millions of unbanked people directly into the financial system, completely skipping traditional retail banking infrastructure. It's like they're playing a completely different game. That brings us to Section 5, AI hotspots and startups, the real-world impact. So which countries and sectors are the primary hotspots for all this AI innovation? The data is incredibly clear. The big four ecosystems, Nigeria, Kenya, South Africa, and Egypt, completely dominate the continent's venture funding. They also host the highest concentrations of active angel investors. Just look at Nigeria alone. It boasts over $6.5 billion in funding volume across 232 startups. Now, to be fair, new ecosystems like Rwanda and Senegal are emerging rapidly, especially with events like the Indaba acting as massive catalysts. But the vast majority of diaspora, angel syndicates, and returnee founders are currently anchoring their core operations in these four dominant hubs. So a big question we get is, how are startups actually attracting this diaspora capital? What's the secret sauce? Well, the playbook is essentially to build products with a dual local and global appeal. Take Lemfi and Nala. They started as simple remittance corridors, right? Moving money from A to B. But they are actively evolving into full wealth management platforms. They are literally building the pipes to funnel diaspora savings directly into African investments. Then you have Chipmungo, which operates this genius hybrid US-Nigeria model. They train Nigerian engineers in AI and microchip design, generating revenue from big global clients, while simultaneously closing the local skills gap. And over in agriculture, you have Ghana's Farmaline. They use AI-delivered weather and market data to boost crop yields by an astonishing 30%. These startups attract serious capital because their teams have those strong diaspora ties, which, as we discussed, de-risks the investment and provides immediate global distribution channels. However, as an intelligence explainer, we must look at the complete, objective picture. We can't just hype it up. Despite the massive momentum, there are severe structural barriers standing in the way of broad-based AI adoption. According to Nextel, 75% of the continent's population remains completely unconnected to mobile internet. That is a huge bottleneck. Furthermore, Africa holds less than 1% of global data storage capacity. That means most data generated by African businesses is physically stored abroad. And the reality is, if AI models aren't trained on localized data infrastructures, they just produce less accurate and less contextually appropriate results. So these are an immense infrastructural and policy hurdles that the ecosystem absolutely must solve before that $16.5 billion market can be fully realized. And finally, Section 6, the 2026 Flywheel, a self-reinforcing engine. Let's step through the mechanics of this 2026 flywheel identified by Upside Journal. Step 1 is the remittance base, that reliable $56 billion providing the stable foundation of family security and trust. That stability is absolutely key because it allows for Step 2, talent circulation. Diaspora professionals suddenly have the breathing room to transfer their skills, mentor via networks like the Indaba, and form those crucial hybrid teams we talked about, which naturally leads into Step 3, early-stage funding. Instead of just sending money for daily consumption, a percentage of that remittance income is channeled through angel syndicates to actively de-risk early AI ventures. Then we hit Step 4, startup maturation. Companies like Farmerline and Chipmongo scale up, they generate real revenue, and they create high-value local jobs. And finally, Step 5, reinvestment. The returns from successful startup exits flow right back into a strengthened middle class, which then fuels even more capital and talent right back into Step 1. It is a completely self-reinforcing economic loop. And the potential scale of this flywheel, it's honestly breathtaking. The ABARN report projects that if the African ecosystem can successfully engage the diaspora to formalize their investments, pushing the pool of active angel investors to over 5,200 by 2026, it could lead to an 11-fold increase in early-stage venture capital. Let that sink in. That is billions of dollars of highly targeted, trust-backed, productive capital unlocked for the continent's builders. The absolutely crucial point to take away from this Upside Journal deep dive is that the African AI talent diaspora flywheel is perhaps the single most underappreciated force in global innovation today. It is literally redefining how talent and capital flow across borders. So I want to leave you with this final thought to reflect on. What role are you playing, or what role could you play in this multi-billion-dollar market transformation? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and as always, keep learning.